Good morning. Welcome everyone to the live in-person and live Zoom worship of the Universalist Unitarian Church of Riverside. Thank you for joining us here in person and joining us remotely by Zoom, where we continue to live stream and post these services on our YouTube channel for virtual attendees. I'm Alec Peck, Chair of the Worship Committee, and I will be your worship associate for today. We welcome you to join us this morning with an open heart and mind, and with muted electronic devices, please. We welcome all of you to our service, especially those of you who are searching for a spiritual home. Whether it is your first time in worship with us or your 100th time, we hope that you'll find here questions that stretch you, people to befriend you, and inclusive values that invite you to join us in feeding your spirit and living your faith. So welcome. Welcome into this space of love, support, justice, compassion, fellowship, and worship. Although our doors are open, the pandemic is not over. So while we are here, please keep your masks on and socially distance. We can speak in normal tones, but singing or chanting creates an increased risk of airborne exposure, so we're asking you to refrain for the time being. We invite those of you in the sanctuary to sit back and enjoy listening, and for those of you at home, you can sing your hearts out. Now, I invite you to sit back and take a deep, slow breath as we move into this worship hour. For our call to worship, you are welcome to read with me the mission statement of our church. Our mission is to foster a diverse religious community that celebrates life, affirms the individual, encourages spiritual growth and open thought, and works to advance social justice and environmental sustainability. Daisy Valdovinos is a holistic development specialist. Daisy's life purpose is to catalyze a cultural transformation that will champion the cause of caregiving and teaching processes that heal and facilitate higher levels of social, emotional, and creative thinking. Daisy's greatest inspiration is her 12-year-old daughter, Africa, and the families she serves. She enjoys expressing herself through music, movement, and writing. Tanya Flores is one of the founders of Project CHELA Sow Grow, which we'll hear more about later. Tanya is born in the Midwest, where she discovered a great passion for helping homeless communities. CHELA grew out of a vision that Tanya had in her childhood. She created a story of a vision around a character named Lekenyakin, who was a protector of children. In her imaginary world, CHELA filled her with hope. Tanya has always believed that infants, children, and teens require love for a lifetime. It was as a child searching for comfort, compassion, and love that she learned to heal. As an adult, Tanya received an MSW, Master's of Social Work. Her personal history her personal life history, service in the foster care of children, and hospice influenced Project CHELA program and the methods that they use today. Tanya is now a mother of 4, a grandmother of 6 with 1 on the way, and a caregiver to 3 dogs. Her hobbies are giving back to at-risk populations, writing children's stories, producing commercials, sustainable gardening, and developing migratory communities for the future. Sorry, we need one more. I'm sorry that you didn't get to see the second half of that bio there. But now I'll tell you a little bit about today's message. Project CHELA, which stands for Children Helping Each Other Learn and Achieve. Sow Grow Education is an innovative 501c3 nonprofit organization that has served at-risk communities in Southern California for 18 years. 50% of CHELA children have special needs. Based in Chino, Project CHELA Sow Grow works with regional center services, faith-based, and other outreach organizations to provide unique training programs and seminars to those in need. Its mission is to proactively prevent homelessness among at-risk populations, especially children and teens, through education, experimental activities, family and community events, community building, and seminars. Seminars tend to incorporate teachings such as the UU principles. Principle number 2, one of my personal favorites, justice, equity, and compassion in our human relations. And now I'd like to invite up Daisy to read our chalice lightings.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Bill. All right, so honored that I get to read from this. Thank you, UU, for having a remembrance for those that occupied this land before us. We have 2 lightings of sacred flames. The first is the occupied Indigenous Peoples Remembrance Candle. The second is the lighting of our own chalice, the symbol of our faith. We walk upon the traditional territories of diverse sovereign people, the original people of this land who continue to cry for justice and self-determination. This spot we occupy was first the sacred space of several groups of Indigenous people, including the Cahuilla, the Cupeño, and the Serrano. We, the Universalist Unitarian Church of Riverside, light this sacred flame as the stewards of this sacred and holy place. We are blessed with a space and opportunity to strive to live out our common principles, to bring justice, equity, and compassion into our daily lives, to resist all that threatens the earth and her people, and to be part of a world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. Let these thoughts carry us forth as we journey and worship together. Thank you, Bill. And now the chalice lighting. Today's reading of the chalice lighting is Shared Light, Shared Future by Josh Prudence and Percival Robert. Help me read together. That one's not up there? Okay, I'll go ahead and read it. We are all flames. When we gather hand in hand, our church, our community, our home, we inspire, we celebrate, we come together sharing our light of hope for our shared future. Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Daisy. And our opening hymn this morning is Do You Hear? For those in the sanctuary here, please sit back and enjoy the hymn, but please do not sing along.
Through the sky, through the land, do you hear, in the height on the plain, in the vale on the plain, in the sun, in the rain, do you hear, through the road, through the rush, through the throng, through the crush, do you hear in the hush of your soul? Hear the cry, fear won't still, hear the heart call to
We have a tradition here at UUCR to welcome those who are visitors or perhaps returning after some time away. We know that it can be uncomfortable to stand and speak in front of others, and so I will now ask for a volunteer of someone who has been here a while to tell us their name and how they found out about the church. We ask that you stand close to the mic and speak directly so that everybody can hear. If anyone is willing and able, can you please, can I have a volunteer to tell us their name and how long you've been here and how you found out about the church, perhaps? Any volunteers? Bill? You were so excited last week and we didn't give you your chance, so now you can make up for it.
One of the things that happens a lot when you're a Unitarian is that you find yourself with pieces of one religion or faith or way of looking at the world, and it somehow gets wedged right next to something else. This is a small room right now, but you could run into people who like people who marry others so that you have a hyphenated name that goes on for about 13 or 14 syllables. You'll get people who have fused Buddhism, agnosticism, paganism, Christianity. I've done that. There was a time, my path pretty much is more on the pagan side of the street. There was a drum circle here. It was a very good one. We drummed and had a wonderful time. But it suddenly struck me at the end of it all, when we were putting stuff away, that this place looks pretty darn Gothic, you know? You look at it, solid European design. And I'm going, wow, these are people who do not care if I am a clone of them or not. These are people who see that we're all sort of stumbling towards some sort of light for this world, or the problems of this world, the pain of it, the solutions. And they don't care if I'm not a duplicate. And it suddenly occurred to me that these were people that I wanted to keep track of. I've done so, and it's been decades now. At any rate, that's how I wound up here.
Thanks, Bill. And that's how it's done. So if there are any new visitors here, an old friend perhaps, if you please raise your hand and I'll call you to the front of the mic at the pulpit. So please just let us know who you are, where you're from, and how you found out about us. As well, if there's anyone on Zoom who wants to introduce themselves, you can put that in the chat. Is there any visitors who, yes, thank you. And also let me adjust the mic for you too.
Hi, my name is Amanda. I'm here with my husband Connor and our baby Ezra, who's asleep. We found out about it because we both grew up Christian and kind of been looking for something different. And I was looking for specifically this type of church, and this is the closest one. So we are excited to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome. If there are any shyer guests, then we do have our visitors book out in the parish hall, and we'd love to speak with you during our coffee hour, social hour after the service. And you can, in our visitors book, you can leave your name before you leave if you'd and your contact information if you'd like to know about upcoming events and be added to the mailing list. For those who are online, the best way to be added to that mailing list is to email the church office, admin@uuchurchofriverside.org. Now for a few brief announcements that I'd like to share with you. During the service, we're going to mention a few websites, email addresses, and perhaps a phone number or two. And at the end of the service, we'll leave up a slide with all of that information, which is also available on our website. COVID. In these uncertain times, it is recommended by the World Health Organization that everyone, both vaccinated and unvaccinated, Continue to take precautions to help stop the spread. Wear a well-fitted mask in indoor and public spaces when you're around crowds and for activities involving close contact with others. Stay at least 6 feet away, about 2 arms length from other people, and try to get tested regularly. You can now be tested by a healthcare provider or use an in-home test kit that are gradually becoming available at pharmacies. And you no longer have to have a cotton swab shoved all the way into your brain. It's now very gentle, so much more pleasant than it used to look like. In California, those who are 18 and older are now eligible for a booster shot for your second dose of if you got your second dose of Pfizer or Moderna vaccine at least 6 months ago. If you got the Johnson & Johnson, you can get a booster if your first shot was at least 2 months ago. You can make an appointment at vaccine.ca.gov, or for more information and more options of vaccine locations, go to covid19.ca.gov. For the same reason, pedestrians recommend seatbelts in car seats. We are recommending vaccines for COVID-19, says Dr. Lee Savio-Beers, writing in the Times. There are promising signs that the first antiviral pill to treat COVID-19 in some at-risk Americans could become available by the end of the year. Let's all take personal responsibility to protect ourselves and others, for we are all in this together. We are back to shelter in place, cover your face, and maintain your space. Something a bit more lighthearted now, the alternative gift fair. On Sunday, December 5th, in lieu of our first Sunday lunch, we invite you to do a little holiday shopping for a good cause at the Alternative Gift Fair. It will be held at the First United Methodist Church, 4845 Brockton Avenue in Riverside, next Sunday from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. This is an annual tradition in Riverside. Booths include 10,000 villagers, Heifer International, crafts by the United Methodist Women, jewelry and cards from the Temple Beth El, and the Brady Campaign, Inlandia Institute, plus music, soup, and family fun. The idea is to raise money for a good cause while getting the holiday shopping, done. That address, again, is the First United Methodist Church, 4845 Brockton Avenue here in Riverside, California. And our next hymn this morning is We'll Build a Land. If you're here in the sanctuary, I again invite you to sit back, close your eyes, and listen.
We'll build a land where we bind up the broken.
SOS, or Sharing Our Spirit, is a program to help families in need during the holiday season. All of the income from this fundraiser goes to our designated SOS fund. These funds will only be spent on the community to purchase food boxes, holiday gifts, as well as our Thanksgiving Day and Christmas Day lunches. Perhaps at this point, only the Christmas Day lunches. So please give generously this year. As we just had our Thanksgiving lunch last Thursday. Thanks go to Robert Braun and all the others who contributed and participated in this annual event. And also thank you, I should mention, to those here on the Thanksgiving weekend. These holiday lunches are free to anyone who would like to attend, but please note that the funds do not go towards your pledge or towards any church expenses. Our goal this year is $2,000. Today is the final day for the SOS collection. This will give the UUs a little more time to shop for our Thanksgiving and Christmas food and gift baskets for the community and support our Christmas and Thanksgiving Day meals. Please put out your donations in the envelopes marked SOS in the pews and mark SOS on your donation checks. Thank you. And please contact our church treasurer, Dinah Rowe, for more information. And now this portion of our service is to support our beloved and historic church, which can be accomplished in several ways. In addition to the weekly collection, you may send your weekly checks to the church address, which is shown behind me. You may contribute using by PayPal using the QR code, which is on the church website in the newsletter and also shown behind me. And we also have Stater Brothers market cards, where the Stater Brothers gives the church a rebate on grocery cards, which we have here in the church. You get the full value of the card, but the church also gets a percentage off the top. Amazon cards of a similar deal are also available. Please donate as the Spirit moves you and by whatever means work best for you. Thank you for your generosity, and to those who give their time and their talent, thank you for your generous care and attention. Will our ushers now please come forward to receive the collection? And now our hymn is From You I Receive. Thank you for your extra generosity during the SOS season. Please sit back quietly and enjoy.
From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live.
Our meditation today is a shared response reading, Generation to Generation, by Anthony de Saint-Exupéry. I should have checked how to pronounce that ahead of time. We invite you to read the italicized segments with me. In a house which becomes a home, one hands down, another takes up the heritage of mind and heart, laughter and tears, musings and deeds. Love, like a carefully loaded ship, crosses the gulf between the generations. Therefore, we do not neglect ceremonies of our passage. When we wed, when we die, and when we are blessed with a child, when we depart and when we return, when we plant and when we harvest. Let us bring up our children. It is not the place of some official to hand to them their heritage. If others impart to our children our knowledge and ideals, oh, next slide, sorry. If others impart to our children our knowledge and ideals, they will lose all of us that is wordless and full of wonder. Let us build memories in our children, lest they drag out joyless lives, lest they allow treasures to become lost because they have not been given the keys. We live not by things, but by the meaning of things. It is needful to transmit the passwords from generation to generation. Now let us pause for a moment of silence. I would now like to introduce Tanya Flores and Daisy Valdovinos speaking to us on sharing miracles through human relations. I believe Tanya is speaking first.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Give us one moment to arrange our screen. Great, and we can now hear you and see you. Thank you, Tanya.
Okay, great. So what we're going to do is, if you could scroll up to the very first slide.
Hey, Miss T.
Hello, hello. Good morning.
Okay, I'm in charge of the slide, so let me figure this out. So this is
Awesome. There we are. First of all, we would love to thank you all for having us here. We love sharing this precious message and basically a tool. It's a message to massage the heart, sharing miracles through human relations. I'm Tanya Flores, and I'm with Project CHELA Sow Grow Education, and Daisy will be joining as well. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. We are Project CHELA, so as mentioned previously, I'm not going to reread this paragraph, but we're a nonprofit. We're based out of Southern California. We do have several offices and many partnerships. Some of those partnerships include a homeless community in Los Angeles. We also do phenomenal guest speaking and community events with LA schools. We have extended our reach to building its migratory communities for what we see transforming in front of our eyes, which is climate change. So many networks across the globe as well. We have connections in Canada, Africa, etc., and here at home. Next, I just wanted to share my story. When I spoke with Grace, I think both Daisy and I did, she wanted to hear more about how Project CHELA was developed. I was a child, experienced, at that time, I would call it trauma. What I realize now is I was collecting all the treasures to actually develop a program, which is Project CHELA. The CHELA part stands for Children Helping Each Other Learn and Achieve. And what I realized is that by giving and forgiving, those were the passages that I had to take in order to heal mind, body, and spirit. And it's through what we call now neural movement. I was an overachiever. Once I was able to participate in school events, just did anything possible to avoid further trauma. And it was through the neural movement, art, music, dance. I was in any and everything I could possibly sign up for in junior high school, in high school. What I learned in reviewing back to my past, developing the Lakanyakan, and I love the way that you pronounce it, story, was to develop a world that I would escape in, and then as an adult, create a program that mimic that same process. I would have multiple conversations with God. And some people say they talk to God and he doesn't listen. What would happen to me is that he would listen and I would see miracles, even in my childhood. So it was through these conversations with God that I realized what I wanted to do. I knew probably when I was in kindergarten, I wanted to be a social worker and envisioned a world beyond what I could see. So as a social worker, what I discovered was that the teens, the foster care youth, probation youth, the hardest, toughest children on the block were being neglected. Something as simple as a pair of shoes were really hard to come by for some of our foster care youth. So we developed Project CHELA, and for 18 years, we've been providing services for some of the toughest kiddos on planet Earth. And what I learned with some of the students that were on death row, so now we have law into place where children will not be put to death because of a tough and rough beginning. And what we saw was basically children have lived multiple lives in just this single lifetime, and they're only, they're still considered children. They were under 18. So our probation youth actually shared with me, the ones that were on death row, some of the knowledge and what I would consider laws of the universe, which were the value of life. If we just remember the value of life and sharing love, that is phenomenal. Some adults take a lifetime to learn that. And so today we're here to share that message. The belief that God created all of this, everything that exists on planet Earth and beyond this universe, all that is, God created for each one of us. So when we talk about equity and equality, we know that in God's eyes, we are all equal and we're all forgiven. Coming from that place of forgiveness and being forgiven, we're able to grow and inspire. So one of the things and messages that we use with our foster care and probation youth is the universe is conspiring in my favor. We actually use an exercise to ignite that spirit. And many of our children come back and they tell us, we got it already. So without further ado, we want to share today this wonderful gift from the heart to the heart, a gift of massage. And Daisy and I met each other over 5 years ago. When I met Daisy, I was just amazed. She actually had acquired the international training that we both have, the certification. And when I saw this beautiful miracle transform in front of my eyes, Daisy and I connected. And so now Daisy and I have created, it's a component, it's a sub program to Project CHELA, which is Sow Grow Education. So now Daisy, would you please go ahead and introduce Sow Grow?
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. So this is like really meta because I call Miss T my fairy godmother. And she's like in the ether speaking to us. This is crazy. I love it. Thank you. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share our message with you all. Like Ms. T said, we are just thrilled and excited to speak to as many people as, you know, are willing to open their hearts and their minds and their hands to this information, because we really want it to not just be something intellectual, and we'll talk about what I mean by this, but not just something we intellectualize, but something that we bring to our heart, and that the heart connection is our ability to connect with other human beings. And then lastly, touch. Touch is such an important component of human development. And so we're going to talk about this, and I want to present to you Sow Grow Education. So this is, like Ms. Tanya said, our subdivision of program in Project CHELA. And so Sow Grow's education's mission is to support caregivers and practitioners in creating environments that optimize learning and strengthen the caregiver and child relationship. So we really believe that that's the foundation of any growth and development, is that connection between the child and the caregiver, and the child and the teachers, and that community. Our vision is to create communities of caregivers and educators who advocate and teach children to advocate for integrative and inclusive education. It's really important that we teach to the different learning styles that children have, that we understand that all of us learn and take in the world differently. So we want to bring that into the practice. Our philosophy, and I'm going to move this really quick, is that transformation is possible through reflective interactions combined with a compassionate community that affirms one another. So here are our services, just really quick. We provide services to the caregivers, we provide direct service to children, and we provide training to educators. So we have the coaching and support for the caregivers and parents. We have what we call experiential learning for children birth to adolescents. And then we also provide training and certification for educators who want to carry on this approach to development and education. So welcome to our Sow and Grow village. We're sowing the seeds of learning and growing through play. All right, so let's get right into it. The Telltale of Touch. So I just wanted to share that for the first time in a long time, I was not afraid to get up here and speak. And I think that's telling of how much I've grown and how much I really believe in what I'm speaking on. And furthermore, the healing process that I was able to go into, that I'm sure everyone here can relate, that last year really put us into places where we had to be with ourselves and really take a look at that inner child that all of us have, and take a look at those wounds and really reflect on, you know, where the pain and the suffering is coming from. And so I was more nervous about how I'm going to have so much to say in so little time. So anyways, that's what I wanted to share there. So let's talk about touch. I have been working with children for over 12 years. I started working with children around the time I became a mother. And I was just completely in awe of how beautiful just the development of a child is, how open they are to learning and to new things and fearless. And I started to learn that a lot of the things that really hold us back are learned, and we can unlearn those things. And so when we talk about touch, there's a lot of unlearning that all of us are doing, have done and are doing, because some of us have experiences and memories of touch that are not positive. And so what we come here to talk about today is that there is healing. Through touch, we are able to heal. Touch is the mother of all senses. Tactile is the first sense to develop in the embryo. Sight, sound, and taste and smell derived all from it. Skin is our largest organ of the body. Everything that we perceive comes through the skin. And later on, Ms. Tanya is going to cover how cellular biology has now discovered that the membrane of the cell is really the part of the cell that creates all the reactions in the cell. We used to believe that it was the nucleus, and there's been studies that have been done and research that has been done by a biologist that tell us that it's not the nucleus. The nucleus can actually be removed from the cell and the cell will still function. So we'll talk about this some more. So with touch, we are able to communicate. It's the first nonverbal language that all of us hold. We are able to, as a baby, and the couple in the back might be able to relate, you know, there's gestures that he or she does, and you're able to tell that that there's a meaning behind it. So while we can't speak, we have our bodies that move and communicate. So our kinesthetic abilities are very important for us at early age. The potential in forming therapeutic experiences for healing injuries is created by early touch. Is available to us. The therapy of healing touch can help us to heal injuries created in early touch violations or the lack of it. Touch has been an essential part of many ancient practices. In fact, infant massage, which we practice and we certify other practitioners, was brought over from India. And it's highly correlated to Ayurvedic medicine, which, if you all know, it's a very holistic approach to wellness. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what are the benefits of nurturing touch. There are many, tons. There's not enough space here for me to mention them, but know that there are benefits from birth to bereavement. And some of the ones that we can enjoy and experience from an early age is that we get to promote social emotional development and intelligence through positive face-to-face interaction. Eye contact actually decreases the stress hormone. And also we're able to learn social cues. So when a mother and a baby are interacting, a father and a baby, we pick up on those cues they learn from us. It's called entrainment. We learn from them, and we're able then to pick up on each other's social cues and interact and communicate. It also promotes nurturing capabilities, compassion, and relational bonds. And this is for both mothers and fathers and any caregiver. Nurturing touch actually helps with relief. It helps to release endorphins, which are the body's natural painkillers. Massage is used, like I said, with hospice patients, and all the way to, there's studies that show that those who have lost beloved ones benefit from aftercare in the form of massage. This also allows the nervous system to aid in the brain and body connection. So it helps with us understanding and embodying, not just being like the floating brain, but actually understanding where our body is in space. It's actually one of the senses that is least talked about. It's called proprioceptive. And this sense is located in our joints. So when we massage our baby or a child or a loved one, this helps with joint relief in the joints. And like I said, that ability to sense where your body is in space, which then increases coordination in a child or a person. So relaxation is another benefit. We're able to balance the autonomic nervous system. Touch relieves built-up tension for infants from stimulation and sensory integration, because they have to try to integrate all of the information that's coming through the sights, the smells, the touch. We're able to get better sleep patterns from children who are massaged, better regulation of emotions. So we're able to help children calm down easier, be soothed easier, and just be happier. Stimulation through touch systems, we can actually stimulate the digestive system, the circulatory system, the immune system, the nervous system, the lymphatic, the limbic, hormonal. We're also able to stimulate the breastfeeding hormone. So as you can see, there are a lot of benefits, and this is just for, the majority of this is for infants, but a lot of this applies to older adults. It also helps with depression, anxiety. So lots of beautiful benefits to touch. However, there is something, so, you know, the question then begs, if these are all the benefits, how come we're not using more of touch? And so this is where we get to reflect. This is where we get to come in and say, is our culture promoting it or not? So let's take a look. Low touch plus high tech equals a lot of trouble. So in 2001, researchers found that people in the US and the UK maintained the largest personal distance, whereas people in Latin American countries maintained the least. So what we find is that we are a part of a very individualistic society, and so space becomes very important for us. And it's great when it comes to promoting our values of freedom. However, there is a drawback to that. And so this is where we want to ask ourselves, and we are cultural engineers. So how are we going to engineer our culture to be a culture that promotes touch, healthy touch, nurturing touch, gentle touch, so that we can be a healthier society? So what we find is that in US and other Western countries, our communication is more for the function of sharing information. Whereas in collective communities, the communication that happens is for the function of relating, of having relationships and maintaining those relationships. So as you can see in the picture, the touch is able, through touch, we're able to connect with one another and foster trust. We're able to foster goodwill. Obviously, you wouldn't let somebody throw you up in the air if you didn't trust them like that, right? And so on the other end, we have stick figures who look very anxious and upset. So all of this information you can find on the article written by Ava Rosenbaum, Personal Space and American Individualism. It's an article written by students from Brown University. All right, so let's take it from intellectual to experience. So I just talked a lot. Now I'm gonna walk us through an exercise and invite you all to open your hearts, open your minds, open your hands. So right there where you're sitting, go ahead and relax. We're going to experience this, not just hold it in our head. So plant your feet nice and firm on the floor. Feel your spine. And just start to become more and more aware of your body. Close your eyes if you want to, that always helps me. And just notice your body, your toes, your feet. As you start to become more aware of them, your legs, all the way up to your torso, your arms. Relax your shoulders. Drop your jaw and clench your fists. Now take a nice deep breath in through your nose, out through the mouth. In through your nose, out through the mouth. One more deep breath in through your nose. and out through the mouth. Now I welcome you to take your hands and start to just to touch. Just touch. Soft, gentle, lovingly, compassionately. And send a lot of love. Make the intention of loving that hand, of appreciating those hands. Appreciating those hands that do a lot of work, that care, that tend. And just give it nice pressure wherever you want, light. All right. So now notice if there's any difference. Anybody here feel calmer? Raise your hand. Yeah. So this is the experience. Because I can tell you, calm down, and that's intellectual. Or I can tell you, take a deep breath. That's experiential. That's a mind-body code. That is the mind communicating to the body. And touch does the same thing as you just experienced. So I appreciate you all participating in the experience. And that's it for my part. Miss T, are you ready?
Oh, yes. Can you see me?
I can see you. Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Daisy. And you can see why we have this wonderful partnership and love. It's gentle touch, infant massage. So quickly, you know, our training basically is endorsed by Bruce Lipton. So we're going to talk about the biology of belief. So Daisy kind of alluded to that, is how we perceive things, what we believe will influence how we look at the world. So we can give many, many examples. You're running late to maybe a game, an event, a wedding, whatever the occasion may be, and you discover there's traffic and you are stuck. I've had one of those situations, and a helicopter landed to rescue a family from a car accident on the opposite side of the freeway. So if I had just believed, oh, I'm late, I can't believe it, and wallowed in that belief that I have failed my son to get him to the soccer field on time, instead of, oh my goodness, you know, God has saved my life. Let's pray for life on the other side of the freeway, that they make it to the hospital. It's all in our perception and what we believe. So Daisy and I have a certification through It's Wink and infant massage, gentle touch, and conscious parenting. And it's been endorsed by Bruce Lipton. So Bruce Lipton basically is a neurobiologist, and he discovered many years ago epigenetics. And in his discovery, he was working with cells. So what he realized is, instead of the nucleus being the brain of the cell, the most influence came from the membrane. So that led him to more research. And the results are, parents are genetic engineers. Parents and their experience they provide. And it's not so complicated, really simple. It's having knowledge, a safe environment, providing beautiful, positive communication. It doesn't have to be complicated. We can go into many different aspects of, it's now this new digital world and new life that modern humans live in, which is destructive. So what I want to now go to is what Andrea Kelly has composed, and it is through, let's go back up to the next slide. So at the very top, you can see the triad family model. And Andrea Kelly created this in the infant massage, gentle touch, and conscious parenting program that we're relating to. Beautiful concept. We are on board with that. We also want to extend some further insight. So basically, what we discovered working with families, working with at-risk communities, people of color, is that we are marching to a different beat. And the beat is, and I want to now define time, which is a man-made, concept on planet Earth. So we're going to be very aware of the time we have here today, because we sure appreciate the time to speak. But if for 1 second, if you were going to eliminate the word in the definition of time, in many indigenous cultures, Europeans and foreigners would go visit and want to see the tribal leader, and they report having to wait for hours and hours. And the reason for that is because that time definition didn't exist. So we relate back to God and God's concept. There's no definition of time. So let's try and eliminate that for a second. So we're looking now at conscious parenting. When we're working with families of diverse communities, remove that time element, it really changes things. So we've worked with disabled children. So children with severe disabilities where parents did not know if their babies were going to live. What we have discovered is, and this is Tanya Flores' grandma philosophy, you have time. The babies have time. Let's eliminate these parameters because they don't exist. Each individual is different. Each culture is different. There are words in different languages that we can't translate to English, right? So with that concept, we want to beat and move at the beat of the baby and the family. So transforming it to European view of even education. So let's eliminate time for today and move at the beat of your own family. So I didn't want to miss. All right, I think I've covered everything there. So we can go to the next slide. So basically, our training has guided us here, human history. If we're more compassionate and touching, we create more peaceful communities. So this has been proven. And the work that I do with foster care and probation kids, I mean, working with some kids that have very violent past, they have role models of violence. And so now changing that cycle of violence means let's go back to touch. So one of the differences between populations is that many of the children not receiving touch, and these are foster care youth that we've seen, suffer from somatosensory affect disorder. We actually see that by touching and creating bonds. We're now building and changing that cycle for future generations. So Bruce Lipton, what he discovered was not only do parents affect their child, but by the age of 8, the parents are in fact affecting the DNA in future generations. So one mom and dad will affect the generations of their grandchildren. And that is what he shares with us. And that is part of our curriculum. And thank you, Andrea Kelly. This slide actually is copyright protected. So thank you everyone for honoring and respecting the great work of Wink. All right. Thank you, Daisy.
Thank you. And so now I have some testimonies to share from families that I've had the honor to work with. And so here, the first one, Oliver's mom and dad, from mine and my husband's behalf, we would like to pay great gratitude to Miss Daisy for being a great part in our Oliver's journey. So let me tell you about Oliver. Oliver, here's a picture of him. When I started to see him, he was not making eye contact. He was not interacting. he was not communicating. And through the use of our approach of positive environment, of touch, of movement, of understanding his world and how he sees the world and getting into his world, we were able to make a great connection. So by the time that I stopped seeing him, he was pointing, he was making eye contact, he was letting his mom and dad know that he wanted something. And this was a beautiful moment when I came into the house and he greeted me with a hug, and he had never done that. And so these parents, which, you know, become my friends, we become family, are very grateful and were open to writing this testimony. And so here you can see that I started with him around 18 months. And as the months went on, she says, we noticed significant improvement from our baby. He was more alert, responded to his name, was doing more activities that were helpful to his sensory needs. And she says that I was always patient, loving, and caring with her son, who in the almost 3 years that I worked with him, and that, you know, that they're very grateful to have them in my life. And I'm very grateful to have them in my life because I've learned so much about human interaction and the possibilities that are present when we, like Miss Tanya says, we get out of the mind frame of timelines and the typical development of children or people, for that matter, and we open up to the possibilities that are present through genuine interaction. Here's another one, and this one, I'll just go ahead and show you the video because I know we're running low on time. This is Simon. He has a very rare genetic condition, and that presented itself as low tone. And so that meant that physically, motor-wise, things were more difficult for him. So movement was more difficult for him, from crawling to standing to all the way to oral movement, meaning speech. So we worked together with him, and let me show you a video of him and how to show how movement and touch is so important to language and communication. Oh, is it gonna let me play it? And I'll just show you this and then we'll wrap it up. Okay. So here's Simon, cutie pie. All right, so I don't know if you guys got to see that. So Simon learned how to speak using this greeting and using sign language. So kinesthetic, a lot of parents think that if we teach their kids sign language, they're not going to speak, and it's actually a vehicle for speech because of the movement. Because right now, as I'm moving my hands here, I'm speaking to you with movement. So just want to go ahead and wrap it up. I'm going to bring up the screen really quick. I know we're going over time, so I'm going to share my screen again, and we will wrap it up. All right. Ms. T, are you still with us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. So the next slide should be mental wellness. One of our foundational premises working with foster care youth, they have been very angry. And I think if you think of a foster care youth, you probably think of that. So separating what is trauma and actually the child is moving through that process and what's a normal teen behavior, sometimes it can be confusing. But We knew this going in. So what we provide always, we come from a place of mental wellness. So Daisy did an exercise in our training with infants and children. It is the same foundational work. So for each of us, we will call it different. Mental and spiritual wellness for me is the same. For some people, they will separate the two. So let's look now, because I know we're winding down, having a daily focus. If you go to the projectchela.org website, what you'll find is a mental wellness, basically we call it a commercial, but it's in essence what I'm talking about right now. Look for daily miracles. If you do not find one, be the conduit for a daily miracle. Be mindful of self and others, especially now. We are not out of COVID. We're all are on high alert. We have lost many people from the planet. We thank God for giving us another day. We ask everyone to just be aware of who's around you, maybe even people who aren't around you. Is that living that purposeful life every day? We call it conscious parenting, extending it beyond just parenting, but all life on earth. We have to be the consciousness of the planet and become one heart, unity of all humanity. And that is really the goal and our purpose here. So I want to share an exercise before I get to the last slide. So what I'd like for you to do is just to identify someone you would like to send a positive message to today. I would like for you to just close your eyes, just relax for 1 second. See that person in your mind's eye. Visualize that person. See them right there in front of you. Now, I would like for you to send them a love message. You can decide what that message looks like. Ready? Let's send it again. Send them a love message. All right. Think of that person. See them. All right. Let's open up our eyes now. What I'd like for you to do during the holiday season, and really, the discussion Daisy and I had, working with just families, at-risk populations, all of us are different. All humans are different. Some people have a pre-depression before the holidays. We call it pre-holiday blues. Some people, and they won't share with you, have the holiday blues. And then the third group are post-holiday blues. They wait until the whole season's over. And some people feel like a letdown, that you geared up, you shopped, you decorated, you got the best gift for everyone, or you made gifts from the heart, and now there's this letdown. What I like for you to do, it may not be the person that you just sent that love message to, but I want you to follow up and identify someone who actually has been isolating, someone who maybe doesn't speak up, but they are a loner and you know who they are. Let's do a face-to-face with that someone. We have to look beyond ourselves, and we see many incidents happen across the United States. I think we can start that change here. Reach out to them. Even if we go back to looking at them through the window, maybe they're not vaccinated. I think we have to break that barrier and welcome everyone. First, it was race. We can think of all the reasons of histories why humans have been separated, but there is only one God, and he wants all of us back, unified. And so if we take away COVID, we take away vaccinations, not vaccinations, just use the protocol. We know it works. Masking, hand washing, safe distances. We can still give an elbow. We can still send that love message through the wavelengths, through the spiritual channel that we have. We want you not to forget those around you, because we know suicide, death has been increased. Let's all do our part. And now let's move to the last slide. Thank you everyone for participating. So well, it's not the last one, but we have upcoming events. You can find this as well on our website. December 11th, we're doing a fundraiser. It's hybrid. We are, and I'll get to that last slide, raising funds to continue our program. Daisy and I are dedicated. It's happening, right? We also have partnered with homeless communities in Los Angeles and are doing parent training there as well on the 11th. So we're going to have our hybrid fundraiser first and then connect to them via Zoom. On January 18th, we have parent training. And please, if you're interested, join us. On January 20th is a free parent training. And then January 29th and 30th, we're offering a 2-day seminar. This gives one the ability to actually use our curriculum. So to provide coaching and parenting in your community, you can also be certified through WINK. All right, so finally, the last slide. Thank you so much for having us and being so patient. Supporting our Family Strong movement. We believe in this method. We believe we can change communities. Our running thing is Family Strong, but if we can build if we can help families sustain, building sustainable families, we can build a sustainable planet. So our goal is to train 200 parents, homeless and families who care for a disabled child, coach 20 to become trainers themselves. So we're empowering them to become coaches. They will transform this with their own unique skill set and become a small business. So we know in this age of job loss, and we see people wanting to be with their families more, this will give them the opportunity and they will have the skills to do that. If you'd like to donate or get involved, you can find us at projectchela.org. If you go on Amazon Smile, you can look for Project CHELA. As we mentioned, we are in Chino Hills, or contact us, and there's the number. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Daisy, awesome. And I appreciate the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Big thank you again, Daisy and Tanya. All right, give me one moment. All right, now for our closing hymn, sorry. Go now in peace. Thank you.
Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the Spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the Spirit of love surround you everywhere.
And our benediction today is, we give thanks this day. Please read with me the italicized refrains. For our human community, our common past and future hope, our oneness transcending all separation, our capacity to work for peace and justice in the midst of hostility and oppression. We give thanks this day for high hopes and noble causes, for faith without fanaticism, for understanding of views not shared, we give thanks this day. For all who have labored and suffered for a fairer world, who have lived so that others might live in dignity and freedom, we give thanks this day. For human liberty and sacred rights, for opportunities to change and grow, to affirm and choose, we give thanks this day. We pray that we may not live by our fears, but by our hopes, not by our words, but by our deeds. Namaste, amen, and blessed be. Thank you again, Daisy and Tanya, for sharing your valuable time and insights with us this morning. We sincerely appreciate you, and we look forward to seeing you again. We will now have a 10 to 15 minute discussion, and you can ask Daisy and Tanya any questions, but please be aware that this portion will be included on the video that's posted, and you are also free to dismiss yourself to the coffee hour, but we will have our discussion time now with our guests.
All right. Any questions, discussions, concerns? Yes.
As the worship associate, I'm also going to claim the first question spot. So I'm very curious about the role of touch in childhood development, especially spiritual childhood development. And I'm curious to know if you have anything to say about the role of physical discipline and what kind of impact do you think that's, if there are cases where that's appropriate, or just any thoughts that you have about that?
Sure,
Thank you.
yeah. Well, I think both Ms. Tanya and I are on the same page that if we use physical punishment, for one, it's not really teaching the child what to do. It's only another form of oppression, right? Of using force to hurt. So it's not teaching the child, like I said earlier, what to do instead. It's only a repressive consequence. And so we believe that if we're going to really teach a child, then we have to give them the opportunities to whatever behavior was incorrect, to do it in the correct way. And so we use positive parenting strategies to come to those terms where we don't need to use physical punishment, and that only creates resentment, that only creates friction, that only creates trauma and negative memories for the child of their relationship with their parent. So there are many ways that we can instruct children without the use of spanking or hitting. Ms. T, do you have anything else to say?
Yes, what I want to say is that this extends for all children. So I think sometimes you had mentioned development of children, but also when we look at older children, so teens, what happens at that age, I think they are sometimes bigger than we are. So if you're going to try and use corporal punishment or physical discipline, I'm short. I know you can't see how short I am, but it would not work. And so at the very beginning, and this is something we really share, is that at the very beginning, we're teaching gentle touch so that that child is learning at an early age, and by role modeling. And remember the concept of time. I think if you take away that time continuum, we have the freedom to live, and there's plenty opportunities to teach. You know, I always thought of this. Foster care children have been re-abused in the foster care system, not everywhere. It's not every family. But if we look at that, if they're being constantly abused, then the cycle continues. But if we teach them a new way, then the door is open for them to use that and the cycle is broken, right? But Daisy and I share with our families, there's plenty of time. there's plenty of time and opportunities. So let's go ahead and utilize that time. In the workshops, some of the caregivers and group home facilitators or monitors, they'll come in and they're amazed. What did you guys do? And it's like, we connected. And so I'm so happy that everyone's in church today, because this is where the healing starts. And this is how we make those connections. Children aren't going to listen if they're on digital devices all day. Executive function is not able to develop with a digital device. And so my husband is a professor at a local university, and he saw this over 10 years ago, where males were joining the sciences or taking on science classes or graduating with a science degree, fewer and fewer over the years. And now we see the numbers. Women are now the #1 students in the science classes. So this is a phenomenon because more males were initially playing more of the games. And I think that's still the case. So we look at overall development is eliminating some digital time. And I know we can't completely do it. I'm here presenting digitally, and I really appreciate that.
Ms. T just got in from Texas. Any other questions? Yes.
Thank you very much for that presentation. I had a question regarding what you said about getting rid of the time concept. Could you explain that a little bit more?
Yes, we created time, man, right? So if you think about your Sunday, and without having any time constraints, visit others. The time that I'm referring to with working with disabled children, families, and then at-risk populations is giving them that peace. I think when we remember that we are loved and we're part of a unit, God wants all of us to join him. It's like if we had a puzzle here, one piece out of that puzzle, the puzzle isn't complete, right? I think as women, and once you birth and you have multiple children, you could have 15 children, but if one doesn't show up for Thanksgiving, there is an empty chair there. We want everyone unified, right? And so in the time continuum, when we're working with others, it's like, forget about that. That's not even important right now. Let's live in just this moment and be mindful of this sacred opportunity of interaction. And that's really, I know it's something we practice. So even with the skill sets, we will slow it down to molasses. So I've had others say that time has slowed down so much. The view is different. And with growing minds, and sometimes slow minds, as we get older, we need a little bit more time to understand. And so by slowing it down to molasses, we're almost eliminating it. But it's, being mindful, eliminating that rush, that stress. And I think Daisy has gotten it because we've been training for a while. And I love the method. And I love the response from parents and children.
I think we've kind of forgotten how it feels actually not to be run by the clock. And I also think that when you're working with young children, they don't care about what time it is,
They don't.
Can't communicate with them if you are running on a timeline because they're moving at their own pace. So. Yeah.
Right.
And that's what scientists say also, there is no time for the little ones. They don't even know how to tell time, right?
Right. Thank you.
They know that it's time to eat though. I have to say that.
You're right. So kids, they run on these waves that are hypnotic, right? And so they don't have these limitations of time, or I know for some parents, the concern of the child not developing like typical kids when, what is typical, right? Like, their body and their mind and their spirit doesn't doesn't adhere to what's typical. They adhere to who they are. And so I think when we eliminate time, then we open up the possibilities for those miracles and the growth and the change to happen, because we let go of expectation and we focus more on the present moment, what's happening at the time that we are interacting with the child, instead of having our own agenda of what we want them to do. Can we let go of that agenda and play and in that way that comes easiest to them, and have that interaction be this reciprocal dance, right? It's a dance, and that's what we're all doing, is trying to carry a dance where we're all able to share in the music and share in the movement. So anybody else have any questions?
I'd like to share one other thing, Daisy. And so our process is a natural one. And so when we go in and help families and children, is to look and see. And I know we're all, on that, when you're working in a system, right, funded by the government, it's a 1 hour shot. But what we do is we go in and we allow the free flow of that natural environment to actually control. We're going to follow that, the child, the family, and dictate that session. So that's a little bit different. And I think anyone who works in any system can do the same. And in your own life is follow the natural flow. So maybe this was your agenda, but maybe someone is calling you and your turkey's in the oven, is to answer that call. And you know what? It's just turkey, right? The most important thing is the value of life.
Okay, now I'm looking at the chat. What resources, Reed asked, what resources would you suggest for massage therapists who want to do continued training in infant massage? Also, can we see the contact info again? Yes. Do you have that, or do you? Yeah. No. I can send it over right now through the chat, Ren. So I'll send you my information. And Miss T, you can send yours too. So here's
I'm just going to go ahead and have them contact you, Daisy.
Okay.
You
So
can
we
also
are. Go ahead.
I was going to say, you can find us on projectchela.org. You can find us or send us an email at sowandgrowca@gmail.com.
Yes.
So Daisy, if you want to include your phone number, you can call her directly or reach out to us at any of those other methods. And we do have an upcoming training in that last slide. I believe it was the last slide, how to join us, or on the 29th and 30th, we are doing a 2-day seminar. So that would allow you to provide coaching to parents to use it in your own private practice as well, if you wish to do so.
And you can also get continuing education units from this course that can apply to your license. All right, so there's information to get in touch with us. Any other questions? Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you so much. Thank you, Miss Tanya. Thank you, everybody. In Kelly, Lynn, John, Anna, Ren. Thank you. Thank you to Adam, Kate, Bill. You're all so wonderful. All right.
And thank you again for your time today. Thank you for participating in the discussion. And now we are opening up for coffee hour.